Hello, and welcome. I'm Kakusa, and here we are again with more of the usual. Hi there, folks. If you've been following this channel recently, then you might have been confused by the recent deviation from my usual format. To be perfectly honest, I ended up procrastinating last week and decided to just throw something together. But I had a lot of fun with the recent drawing, though. It was a nice change of pace. Although, looking back on it, it probably would have been better as a normal speed paint. In any case, welcome in. I hope you're having a great day and or night, as I tend to share these at the later hours. Over the past few days, I had like two things cross my mind, and the more I thought about them, the more I realized they kind of go hand in hand. So let's take a moment and consider the following. What does appreciation look like? Appreciation can come from anywhere. A friend, a family member, your partner, or even a stranger. Stay with me on that last one, I'll explain what I mean later. At times, we can take it for granted. It's easy to get used to being treated a certain way to the point where we underestimate or even misjudge the value in how others show appreciation for us, subsequently leading us to neglecting the efforts others put in for our sake. At a certain point, however, you might realize that in order to accomplish anything, you have to be proactive in seeing it come to fruition, regardless of whether or not you have people supporting you. From then on, we enthrall ourselves in self-guided endeavors, all in an effort to foster discipline and become as skilled as possible. It's an interesting phenomenon, truly, haven't you noticed? As it so happens, the most interesting people in the world are never appreciated at the start of their journey. Appreciation, or in this case notoriety, is always preceded by an unforeseen tragedy or a mark of success so undeniable, thousands flock to admire it. If you've ever been in the habit of conducting historical research, especially in the art world, then this might sound familiar. There is a historical quote, the veracity of which has been greatly debated. It is said that in life, Michelangelo had this to say: "If you knew how much work was put into it, you wouldn't call it genius." The only evidence we have to support that he shared this ideal is the fact that prior to his passing, Michelangelo attempted to burn all of his preparatory work. It is speculated that this act, as well as the origins of the quote, was a declaration that the mystique surrounding an artist's level of skill is itself a commodity, and the belief that it is effortless is what gives it value. In this day and age, the skill ceiling for art has been raised to an insurmountable degree, and most commonly, all we see is the result, not the effort it took to get there. And so it remains true, the allure of creators is the mystery surrounding how skilled they are. After all, it's more interesting to see someone as a master in their field. It perpetuates this idea that the most renowned artists of today are simply untouchable, and no matter how hard one might try, there is no catching up. This fosters an environment wherein any and all discussion surrounding them becomes the main appeal. Any ideas you or I might have for how someone achieved a level of mastery is ambiguous, making any and all discussion surrounding them a possibility at any given time. It's almost frightening how capabilities inspire endless thought, maddening even. And so it's possible that appreciation is all about interest. When we appreciate something, we want to associate with it. At times it can appear opportunistic in nature, but it's all about perspective, really. There's a famous quote by Marilyn Monroe. It reads, "If you can't handle me at my worst, then you sure as hell don't deserve me at my best." I personally never really liked this saying, as it feels rather arrogant, but the intention is there. Appreciation comes from being interested in something at any stage, even when it's seemingly unnecessary. In other words, there are degrees of appreciation. It can be fleeting. It can be hard to tell the difference between passive versus active appreciation. But when someone appreciates you, they'll ask you about the things you're interested in, even in cases where it feels redundant. Now, there's no law saying this is the only valid form of appreciation out there, but oftentimes it does feel nice to be appreciated in that way. I feel as though both forms are valid. As long as you make the point that that person is seen, that's one of the best things you can do for them. But at its core, it's all about compassion in the face of mundanity. This leads me to my next thought. Some years ago, I recall watching an old channel which shall not be named, the gimmick of which being that the creator would go up to people, both in public and private spaces, with the express purpose of recording them. No dialogue, just pure active surveillance. Now, it goes without saying that you should never do this under any circumstances, but I will admit it got me interested in asking questions. To this day, it's unclear what the creator's intent was, or if there was a point at all. Nevertheless, it makes me wonder, for instance, why is it that we become so desensitized to being under constant surveillance whether we go outside or remain indoors, yet we have an issue the second there's a person holding the camera? By default, cameras don't have faces to connect with. This creates a dynamic interplay between what we see and what we know to be true. There's an almost blissful ignorance in not knowing whether there might be someone on the other side watching us. In many ways, it's similar to how we augment our behavior when we're behind a screen. Some choose to throw caution to the wind and embrace disharmony, relishing the discourse it brings. Others choose to follow their most authentic self in ways which their personal lives otherwise wouldn't allow. And there are those who are consistent with who they are on and offline. When there's a person holding the camera, the choice to be authentic or put up a front is disregarded. In that moment, we just are. Regardless of who you are, there's a powerlessness in being recorded in such a way. There are no do-overs, no second chances. How people see you in that brief moment will solidify their impressions of you going forward. And as a direct consequence of our lived experiences, the pursuit of social interaction is undercut by the desire to be understood. And yet, when we go out into the world with the intent and understanding that individuals will observe us, that awkwardness vanishes entirely. It then becomes a question of how the things we choose to share will be scrutinized. And finally, the choice falls to us, for that is the mystery of appreciation and the esteem of surveillance. Thanks for watching. See you next time.